YouTube? I'm back again today for another game review. Today we're excited to check out Warsaw City of Ruins from North Star Games and from Grana. This is for 2 to 4 players. Age is 10 plus. It'll take about 60 minutes to play. And in Warsaw City of Ruins, this is a city building drafting game where you are going to try to build up your 3x4 city of Warsaw by placing parks and apartments and commerce buildings and all sorts of things to try and maximize how much money and victory points you can get. But it's not that easy because other people will be drafting the tiles you want, and also because this is a historically themed game, you're going to have to deal with World War I and World War II, which will destroy part of your city that you are going to be building. It's a very tight game where you're going to be trying to manage your money, build what you want to do, and get the most victory points. But is it good? Let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think. Alright then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Warsaw City of Ruins. So first and foremost, we have a handy dandy rule booklet. You're only going to need the first 3, 4, 5 pages right here. Full color, double-sided, full of plenty of pictures, illustrations, examples. Very well done. Should have you up and running in no time at all. And the last 7 or 8 pages are actually just in-depth descriptions of how each of the fancy tiles in the game works, and also the historical aspect of each tile, because Warsaw actually was a real city, country, area, sub-region, I'm not exactly sure what you call it, but it actually was a real area, and each one of the tiles has its own distinctive historical flavor, which is cool. So in Warsaw City of Ruins, you're going to be playing over the course of 6 rounds, and you're going to try to get the most victory points by building the city of Warsaw in front of you. You're going to do that by drafting these tiles out here, and I'm actually missing a tile right here, but for demonstration purposes, I'm sure it'll pop up. So before we get started, I do want to mention that there is, wow, a really nice box insert that comes with this game. It holds everything perfectly, and the coins are spread out because I took them out just a second ago, but man, very nicely done box insert. Wanted to give that some love. So let's show you all the different components and how the game works. So first, everybody's going to start with $6 and a starter tile right here, which will have some grass, and it will have some red on there, and we'll talk more about how the scoring works a little bit later. Also, you're going to have a player aid card near you. I believe there's 1 for everybody, or 3. I feel like there was 3. It was an odd number. It felt weird. But you'll be able to access one easily, and they're very, very useful. In the back, it's going to show you cost, income, victory points, how much you're going to score for parks, and also how you're going to get coins and victory points in the game, and also the order in which you score them, which is pretty nice as well. Next, you're going to have your little mermaid who's going to be going around the scoring track. Why do you have a mermaid? There's actually a brief description in the back of the rule booklet. I still did kind of dumb. There's mermaids. And in fact, I don't like the mermaids at all component-wise because let's say we both have 35. As you can see, there's an issue there, especially if another person gets 35. And if we actually bump, wait, we're on 34, we're on 35, where were we? I don't know. Let's mermaid fight. Anywho, enough mermaid fighting. But the main star of the show are going to be the tiles, because the tiles are how you are going to build your city right here in front of you. So let's just show you how the game works. Everybody's going to get 4 of these tiles. Hey, there's that tile I was talking about right there. 4 of these tiles right here, and you are going to draft and pick one of them. Before you do that, you probably want to know what each tile does and how you're going to score points in the game. So let's talk about the scoring. So you'll start out with $6, but really that's the only free money you're going to get in the game. The rest of the money you are going to have to earn one way or the other. So the first way you're going to score at the end of each round is you're going to score points for greens that are adjacent to red. You're going to take one of your parks, which are the green ones right here, and you're going to look to see how many red adjacent spots are next to it, and you will score points based on this track right here. So you can get a lot of stinking points doing that. This is the only complex scoring in the game. Everything else is very cut and dry, but they do cover it very well right there. Next, you're going to look at the purples, and you get points for all the purples you have. How do you know how many points you get for purples? Well, it's pretty simple. It'll have a big 1 on it, or a big 3 on it, or a big 4 on it. You put this on here. This is going to score you 1 at the end of this round, 1 at the end of round 2, at the end of round 3, at the round of 4, round 5, round 6. So if you put this first move of the game, it's going to score you 6 victory points by the end of the game, unless you build over it or it blows up during the war, because there will be World War I and World War II in this game. Next, we have the yellow ones right here, which are going to get you money. As you'll see, it has the money symbol as opposed to the victory point symbol, and you will get money for each adjacent red you have. So for instance, boom, if this was right here, we would be scoring 1 coin at the end of the game. If we had this one right here, we would be scoring 2 at the end of the game. So that would be super nice. And, you know, if it was right there, we'd still be scoring 2. So putting the reds next to the yellows is going to give you money. Next we have the blue ones, which you will not see actually in the first round. They'll come out in later rounds. But the blue ones are kind of like factories. Think of them like factories. They're going to give you money, and they'll have a lot of money on them. Let me get you one from round 4, and I'll show you. Because yeah, as you can see, the tiles get way cooler as you go later on in the game. So for instance, this tile right here is going to get you $2 at the end of every round. It's going to get you 2 victory points at the end of every round. But if you put the blue next to a red, you're going to lose a point each and every round. Now, if you do that, you're kind of a moron, and you decided to do that because, well, I'll explain it later, but you don't ever have to play a tile that you don't want to play in this game. So the blue ones are going to score you money. They will score you a lot of money. Next, you're going to have the buses, which once again are not in the first round, but they'll come later in the game, and some tiles will have buses in the middle of them. They will be transportation hubs, and you have 2 transportation hubs. You'll start earning points for your transportation hubs, and they are a really good way to get points, especially if nobody else focuses on those said transportation hubs. Last but not least, you will score points for having these fancy tiles right here. There's fancy tiles scattered throughout the deck, as you can see. So let's show you how a typical turn would go. I got my 4 tiles right here, starter tile in the middle. Take a look at my 4 tiles, and I have 2 choices. The first one is I either discard one of these tiles and get 3 coins. Second choice is that I place one of these tiles and then I pay the cost of the tile. So we'd all put it down like this. Everybody reveal. We pass these to the left or to the right, depending on which way we're passing it this round. You pay the coins. This one would cost me 1 coin. And boom, just like that, I would play it, here or here or here or here. You cannot place diagonally. Everything has to be touching. And then I would get a new stack of 3 tiles that someone just passed to me. So let's see what we got here. We got a park, we got a yellow. Those are both pretty boring. Ooh, we have this one, the Arsenal. This one's going to allow you to lose 1 fewer tile during each war. And that's a good time to bring up the war, because during phases 3 and phases 4, we will have World War I followed by World War II. During World War I, you will have to destroy, get rid of, eliminate one of your tiles. And during World War II, you will have to get rid of, you guessed it, 2 of your tiles. So essentially, by purchasing that tile that I just showed you, you could save yourself 2 tiles, which, can be very, very useful. Anywho, what you're going to do is you're going to do that until you have 4 tiles built onto your spot, or until you've sold, 2 tiles and built 2 tiles, or any combination of the such. So let's just say this is what we did right here. We'd have to pay the money, which would be 3, 4, 5, 6. So we would have no money right now. So we are broke as a joke. And then we get to what's called the income phase. So the first thing you do during the income phase is war. If you have war, you will deal with war and you will lose a tile, any tile you want to lose. Now, if you're not in phase 3 or 4, you don't have to worry about the war. It's only during those phases. So during 1, 2, 5, and 6, you don't have to worry about it. Next, you do what's called this thing right here. And at the bottom of these, each phase, except for the 6th phase, is going to allow you to earn one of these special tiles down here if you meet a certain criteria. So for instance, they are all double-sided as well. This one is either the fewest of the fancy buildings or the most of the fancy buildings. Whoever reaches that goal is going to earn this, which will just give you 2 coins at the end of each round, which is really stinking useful, especially early on in the game. Now, if there's a tie, whoever has the fewest money would get it. So let's just say it was fewest. I have none. I have 0 money, so I would win this. And I'd just put it right there, and I'd say, hooray, and I've got it for later on in the game. So now we get to the income phase. Let's see how much we have scored. So first, we would look at our reds and see how many parks are next to it. We didn't score many points for there, but we would score some. Once again, you want to look at the back for here. Then we'd look at our purples. We would score 1 point for purple, so we'd move ourselves along the mermaid track, 1 point. You're going to get some cash for your yellows you have, so I would get 2 coins right there, which is not very much, you might be saying, and you are right, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Next, you get coins for blue, which nobody would have any blue in the first round. You get buses, which once again, no one would have any first round, and then additional victory points and coins from your special building, so I would gain 2 coins right there. Now, as you can see, money is pretty scarce in this game, and as you continue forward, the tiles are going to get more and more expensive. Well, luckily, one thing you can do is you can build on top of other tiles. So let's just say I really like this one right here, but it costs me 2 and I don't have any money. Well, or say I have $1. Then what I can do is I can place it on top of my 1 cost things and only pay 1 coin, because you were only only allowed to build a 3x4 grid. Whichever direction you want to do is fine, but you have to build a 3x4 grid in your city. Anywho, you're going to continue to do this, scoring points, dealing with wars, drafting, passing, all that sort of stuff, until you get to Phase 6, at which point you'll do your last income phase. Whoever has the most victory points will be the winner of Warsaw City of Ruins. And that, in a nutshell, is how the game is played. Alright then, Warsaw City of Ruins from North Star Games and Grana. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. 2 to 4 players, restricted player count. And spoiler alert, I feel like this game could have earned a Bauer's Best seal, potentially if it would have went up to 5 and 6 players. And I feel like it really could have, because it's a very simple drafting game at its core. When you first start reading the rules, it sounds like it's a really complex version of Between Two Cities, which is a game I absolutely love. I think I give it a Bauer's Best seal. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But it's not. It's actually a really simple, straightforward game, so I don't know why they limited it only to 4 players. Another comment of this, component-wise, and this is the only component con I really have of the game, I believe, is that I wish they would not have went with the stupid mermaid things. Because while it's cool, and I'm sure, like, they say in the back, it's like, hey, the mermaid's a symbol, the blah, 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 blah. They're too big. They're too big for the scoring track. Either make the scoring areas bigger, or make scoring tokens that are stackable. Which is another thing, I wish they gave you, like, just a little token or indicator to help you remember which color you are, because you might forget from round to round to round. You know, it's a minor nitpick, but with a game that I really like, which is this game, I do have to find minor nitpicks. I wish there were some more special tiles that you could interweave into the bottom part right there, because that's one thing that I did notice. They have all this historical flavor and text and explanation about what happened historically at all these different locations, except for your 5 tiles you have on the bottom, which ones you can earn. So I really feel like they could have taken some more creative liberty and made some more of those tiles and provided a little bit more variability, because that's another comment that I have with this game, is that because I like this game so much, I want more tiles in the game, especially at 4 players. You start to notice that a little bit. But once again, everything I'm saying here is kind of a nitpick. Who would not like this game? That's the big question for me. It is repetitive. You're going to do the same thing over and over and over again. It's drafting. It's a very simple, straightforward game. Well, it does feel like there's a lot of meat on the bones of this game. When you pull back the veil, it's actually a relatively simple game, which might be a turnoff to some people, but I really don't know too many other cons that I have with this game. Moving on to the pros, I really, really liked Warsaw City of Ruins. And while I don't keep many 2 to 4 player games anymore, like, for me to keep a 2 to 4 player game, you have to be outstanding, because there's such a huge market for 2 to 4 player games. Like, if you can get that 2 to 5, all bets are off, because I hit 5 players so many times on my game night. But this game is so good at 2 to 4 players, and I liked it at 2, I liked it at 3, and I liked it at 4. I'm going to be keeping in my collection. I think that I'm really kind of surprised that this one flew under the radar. So I'm glad that North Star is reprinting this game. But what do I like about this game? First and foremost, it seems like it's complex. When you first start reading the rules, you're like, okay, so this needs to be near this needs to be near this can't be next to that. So this is, then there's special abilities thrown in the loop, so I might have my own custom aspect of the city. Oh, then there's transportation. The transportation is going to give me a bunch of victory points, but I really have to commit to it because I have to have at least 2 of them, and there's building over things. It sounds like it's a really complex game, and it's not. Like, it's not a gateway game, but it's not that far off, I don't think. I think this is maybe, 1 or 2 steps above a gateway game, but at the same time, it provides you with really interesting choices. Those drafting aspect of this game is really well done, because you're only getting a few tiles, and you can see everybody's city. You might be like, man, I don't really want this tile this much, but I don't just want to take money, but at the same time, I don't want this tile either, but I don't want to pass it over to him, because it's a great tile for him. It's an absolutely fantastic tile. It fits super well with him, and it has some interesting choices, and I really love games that can bring that 45 to 60-minute range that give you those interesting choices, and Warsaw City of Ruins definitely does that. So this is a game night game, for sure, absolutely. I think it's going to go over very well with a lot of people's game nights, especially if you typically hit 2 to 4 players. I liked it a lot as a 2-player game, but I also think if you have older kids, this is a great family game as well. I think if your kids are ages 12 plus, they're really going to enjoy this game, even though I think you could easily play it with 10 and 11-year-olds. I brought it into my classroom. I played it with an 11-year-old. She's a smart 11-year-old. She plays a lot of my games. And while it was a little bit above her head, you could tell that she really dug the game and she wanted to play it again. So I definitely think this is a great family game if you have older kids as well. Box insert is top-notch. Component-wise, no complaints except for those stupid little mermaids, which I wish were just replaced by round wooden discs or a plastic disc. Hey, surprise me. Metal disc, you want to go crazy. I like the drafting. I like the special abilities. I like the variety of special abilities. You know, I mentioned in the cons that I wish there were more of the special abilities you could earn on the bottom. But just from the top, you know, when you're drafting, there's a lot of different special abilities in there, and it's cool to customize your city and have different things that do different aspects. I also like, as you go through the different phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, phase 6, the tiles get cooler. And even though it might just be a tile that looks like, say, this, like this might be a tile that comes up in phase 6, and you're like, whoa, this tile's amazing for my city. Well, someone else will be like, oh, this tile's garbage. This tile's terrible for my city. But then they look at your city like, oh, this tile's great for him, so maybe I'll burn it or buy it or something. I like this game. I like this game a lot. Going on my shelf. Easy to learn. Easy to teach, well done rule booklet. It's got a historical flavor, which I liked. I enjoyed reading about the different locales in the back of the book. I also like the fact that each tile is very clearly laid out in the back of the book. So in the end, Warsaw, City of Ruins, very easy recommendation. Do you like drafting games? Check this one out. Are you in the market for a 2 to 4 player game night style game that also family weight? If you have older kids, check this one out. If you like historically themed games, check this one out. One that I think a lot of people are going to like. Really glad to see it being reprinted. That is Warsaw, City of Ruins. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know, have you ever been to Warsaw? Me personally, yes, I have. There's this city, you know, probably 25 minutes from my Fort Wayne, Indiana, where I live. It's called Warsaw. The actual Warsaw that they're talking about in here, no, of course not. I've never been there. But I have been to Warsaw, Indiana, which is forgettable. Yeah, very forgettable. But let me know in the comments below. Have you ever been to Warsaw? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.